Well, good morning. I wanted to take a minute and just say good morning to you. Merry Christmas to you. Over the last couple weeks, we've been getting ready for Advent here and talking about joy and peace and hope. And last week specifically, we talked about joy and the barriers that we have to joy. And the reality is, I think sometimes we get the idea that we're to have this never-ending joy, and yet we see so many times in the Bible that we're to weep with those who weep, mourn with those who mourn. And last night in our prayer meeting, we looked over Psalms 113, chapter 13. And as you can see here, he opens with these phrases: "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I take counsel?" And that word there, counsel, I can show you here on the screen. Revolt, rebellion. I think it'll show this. I've never quite done it this way, so I'm hoping this is helpful. But it talks about, counsel or advice, or how long does my soul have to deal with its own thoughts, the agony of its own self, and have sorrow in my heart all the day. How long will my enemy be exalted over me? And particularly this phrase here, have sorrow in my heart all the day. We live in a world where we don't seem to want to press into sorrow, press into agony too much. In fact, a lot of times it seems we almost want to medicate it. If someone's having a bad day, we want to fix it right away. If someone's hurting, we want to solve that. And the truth is, sometimes we just have to hurt. We just have to be sorrowful. And the amazing thing about God is that He's with us there. He doesn't rebuke us. He doesn't push against us. And I know something that God's working on my heart, and I just wanted to share this with you, that as we talk about Christmas joy and focusing on the celebration part of it, sometimes it's just as hard to have sorrow well, whether it's your own sorrow, where we don't allow our sorrow to carry us away, where we don't engage with God or love Him, but that we also have a focus of owning our hurt. We live in a day that seems pretty common to say things like, have positive thoughts. And, the truth is, positive thoughts aren't able to fix the sorrows that many of us face. In fact, when you're really honest, some of the sorrows that we have are so great, they're so big, they're so heavy. There's something much greater than ourselves that's needed to help heal our wounded soul. And that's where the psalmist is coming. He's just being honest and transparent with the Lord. And I don't know what kind of relationship you have with God. I don't know what you think prayers to sound like. But the beauty of that psalm is that in a loving God, when you believe in a loving and caring God, He allows us to pour out His hearts before Him. And He wants us to do that, because then He knows we're being honest, we're seeing our situation. And truth is, last night we talked about this fact that when we minimize our sorrow, and it's not a big deal, we unintentionally are also minimizing our joy. And as the psalmist continues, he ends with the truth of who God is. He says, but despite of all my circumstances, despite everything I'm feeling, I trust in your steadfast love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because He has dealt bountifully with me. And the psalmist, although his heart is wrenched and his sorrow is deep, after pouring his heart out to God and saying, God, it feels like you don't see, feels like you don't notice. It feels like you've turned your back on me. And last night in our prayer meeting, and it's the same on this video, right? I'm sitting in this position, but if I turn like this and turn my back towards you, I haven't moved any further away from you or from the camera, but it literally changes the whole atmosphere of the interaction on this video. And in a way, the psalmist is saying the exact same thing. It just feels like, God, you just kind of just turned away and sort of turned back to me. But at the depths of his soul, he knows that God is a God of love. He knows that God brings salvation, and that when that happens, he will sing, verse 6 there, sing to the Lord because He's dealt bountifully with me. And you understand that idea there, that if we don't sorrow well, if we don't allow the weight of the world and the impact and the hurt, and we just kind of try to minimize it, medicate it. Sometimes we medicate it through many different means, right? Entertaining ourselves and other things, to just ignore it and push it away. But as we look at all those things, God's okay. He, in a way, feeling the weight of our sorrow is a way for us to experience the greatest measure of healing that God has for us. Because the truth is, as I've walked with the Lord, I've realized more and more. I used to think, my sin's not that big. It's kind of, Well, I realized as I've gotten closer to him, it's actually bigger than what I thought, my own sin. But at the same time, God is bigger than I thought. He's more loving than I thought. He's more gracious than I thought. He's more merciful. And so I just kind of give this to you today, that as we talk about joy, to recognize the flip side of that coin, that it's not some naive, always joy, always happy, that there are seasons of great sorrow. But even in those great sorrows, that we can turn to the Lord, pour our pain and our heart out to him. And so if you're hurting, one, there's probably been an occasion that if you know me, you're hurting. And I probably, before I sorrowed with you, I probably was too quick to want to fix it. And God has been working on me in that way. And so I'm sorry for those times where, I instead of just climbing into the pit and saying, man, this is hard, this hurts, and I'm sorry for that, and just hanging out there. I thank God that above all, even though we as humans fail, he never fails. And he's always willing to climb into that pit with you. And when the psalmist says, all the day long, I have sorrow and anguish in my heart, God is with you. And don't lose hope and don't lose sight of that. So maybe a little different twist on having joy. But when we, in a way, maximize our sorrow, we maximize our joy. So I hope you all have a great week. God bless. Merry Christmas.